Hi there, I'm Sage and welcome to Sage Does Crafts. Today we've got another Dollar Tree Tutorials, a series on my channel where I show you how to make something using only Dollar Tree yarn. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make your very own Junimo. So if you've ever played Stardew Valley, you know what a Junimo is. They're these cute little apple mystical creatures that help you and are just adorable and run around. So we're going to be making those today. This is a very simple pattern, and as usual I will have the pattern down below in the description, so if you'd like to just jump ahead and work off the pattern, by all means. But I'm also going to be going through the pattern and showing you and telling you how to make your very own. So let's move over to the table where I can show you all the materials that we will be needing today. And also a little disclaimer, this project also does a fair bit of sewing. So if sewing is not something you like, maybe this isn't the pattern for you, but you are just expected to sew on the arms, the legs, and the little antenna. So it's not much. It's a very quick project. It goes by super quick, super simple, but just something to be aware of, that you are expected to know how to sew. Also, a side note, while this video is a tutorial, I am not going to be teaching you how to crochet. You are expected to know how to crochet. I will be showing you how to make a Junimo, not teaching you how to crochet. So just be well aware of that before you start this project. I will not be teaching you anything but how to make a Junimo. Now that we've moved to the table, we can go over all of the materials that you're going to need for this project. So to start off, you're going to need 2 skeins of yarn. I have picked out one of these chenille colors. I've already made a couple Junimos in blue, yellow, and pink, and so I wanted to do this green color. But you'll need one of these chenille colors, and then you're also going to need a regular black yarn. You're not going to use most of this black yarn. This is just obviously for like the little arms and the antenna, so you are going to have a lot of this yarn. But with this chenille yarn, you can expect to use almost the entirety of the skein with this pattern. So that is the yarn that you will need for the project. You're also going to need some scissors, a stitch marker, a needle, and a crochet hook. I'm going to be using a 3.75. Now this may not be as comfortable for some of you. This will certainly be good for the black yarn, but some of you may not like the way that it feels with the chenille, so feel free to size up. Just be aware that it will make your project bigger. I just like to use this hook, and pretty much only this hook. So I'll be using a 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, and then I also have these 20 millimeter eyes. Now you can use whatever eyes that you'd like. I've just found that 20 millimeter does look nice. So let's get started on this project. Of course, I can never get a very nice center pole. Okay, to get us started, we are going to start with a magic ring, or if you prefer, which is what I prefer to do, is the chain 2 method and then work into the second stitch. But whatever you would like to do, whether it be a magic ring or another method, go ahead and do that and put 6 stitches into it. Now that we have our 6 stitches here, you're going to go ahead and put your stitch marker so that you don't lose your place, because this yarn can be incredibly tricky to get used to because it's really hard to see your stitches. I've been crocheting for about 2 decades and I am still having a hard time seeing my stitches. That's just kind of comes with the territory of the chenille yarn, so just be aware of that. And next, now that we have our 6 stitches, we are going to be increasing in every single stitch, leaving us with 12 stitches at the end. Now that we have our first row done, we can start our second row, and we are going to be repeating an increase and then a single crochet, and repeating that all the way around. We should increase and single crochet 6 times, and once we get to the end, that will leave us with 18 stitches. Okay, now with the second row done, we are going to be increasing and then doing 2 single crochets. Increase 2 single crochets and repeating that to the end, which will leave us with 24 stitches. Okay, with that row done, we can now increase with 3 single crochet and then increase 3 single crochet, repeat that to the end. Now that we have round 4 done, we're moving on to round 5, where we are going to be increasing and then putting 4 stitches in between our increases. We are now on round 6, where we are going to be increasing and then putting 5 single crochet in between increases and repeating that until the end. With round 6 done, we can move on to round 7, where we are going to be increasing and then putting 6 stitches in between increases. We are now on to round 8, which is our final round of increasing. And if you haven't guessed it already, we're going to be increasing and then putting 7 stitches in between increases. Here we have all of our increases done. You've probably noticed that this does have a bit of a dome to it. We're not going to worry about this. This isn't going to matter, because once we have our finished body done, we're going to be using like a needle and this yarn to run it through the top and the bottom to help create the shaping. So I know that it's a little cone shaped right now, but that won't be an issue. So now that we are on to round 9, for the next 7 rows, so from row 9 to 15, we are going to be single crocheting in every stitch, and we're going to be doing that for 7 rows. So we will be back once we have that length. Now that we have all 7 of our rows completed, before we start decreasing and closing this up, what we're going to first do is put in the eyes. Now I put in the eyes in between 13 to 14 in between there, and I put them about 7 stitches apart, but you can of course put the eyes wherever you'd like. Okay, I think that that is a pretty good distance apart here. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the backs of these. Okay, now that we have the eyes secure in place, we can begin decreasing. And so we're going to start by decreasing and then doing 7 single crochet, repeating that till the end. Okay, now we are on row 17, where we are going to be decreasing and then doing 6 stitches and repeating that until the end. Alrighty, now we are on row 18, and we are going to be, you guessed it, decreasing and then putting 5 stitches and repeating that till the end. Now we're going to be decreasing and putting 4 stitches in. With row 19 complete, we're going to start 20, and we're going to be decreasing and putting 3 stitches in and repeating that until the end. Okay, we are almost done here. For row 21, we're going to be decreasing and putting 2 stitches in and repeating that till the end. We're almost ready to stuff here. Okay, some of you may want to stuff your project right about now, and that's what I'm going to do. So I will be right back with stuffing. You're going to want to stuff your project tightly so that he holds his shape. Our little Junimo is looking better already. We are now going to be doing row 22, where we're going to decrease and then put a single crochet in between the decreases. The row after that, we are just going to be decreasing the whole way. So instead of showing you that, because I'm going to struggle with this, I don't know if any of you are like me, where once a project is stuffed like this, crocheting it closed is like a nightmare. So I'm going to be back when that is done. Okay, sorry I was not able to film that. I always have to like hug my projects to crochet them closed once they get like that after stuffing. But this is what we have. Before I cut off this piece and sew it closed, I'm actually going to be leaving a very long tail. And this tail is going to help us. We're not only going to seal up the project, but we are then going to use the needle and feed it through this bottom out to the top and feed it back and forth to pull the project down to give it that Junimo shape. Well, let's get started with that. So to seal it up, we're just going to go through each of these 6 stitches, wind it around. Okay, and now that we have it wound around, we can pull it, and ta-da! Our project is sealed. So now we are going to be taking this needle and carefully feeding it through the bottom and making sure that it pokes out up top. It's going to probably want to go to the sides a little bit, but if you keep track of it, you can pull it directly out of the top. We're going to pull that tight, but not too tight. Then we're going to feed it through. I'm trying to make sure that I catch other strands of yarn instead of just going through in the same hole, because otherwise it's not going to be able to pull it tight. So you want to go like a little bit to the side, but not a lot. Okay. Okay, now you're starting to see the shape a bit more. Just to help make sure that it's secure, I'm going to do this a couple more times. Should get easier too as you've begun pulling it through. There we go. He's starting to look like a little donut. Now that I've done that a couple times and it's tight and it doesn't want to go back, what I'm going to be doing is going through here and just making a knot so that this does not come out like that. I'm just going to do that 2 or 3 times just to make sure that the project is secure and that there's no chance that this is going to unravel. And to finish it off, we're going to feed it through, have it poke out anywhere. Once you've got it here, pull the string a bit tight and then snip it off as close as you can. And now your end is securely hidden and we have the shape of our little Junimo done. But he's not going to be much of a Junimo without his signature little puff on top. So with our remaining yarn, that is now a horrible pile, let's make them. I'm also going to be saving this string since it ended up being a bit too long, and I'm going to use this as stuffing for the little puff that we are going to make. So to create the top of the Junimo, we are going to be doing a magic ring, or the chain 2 method, whatever you prefer. and we're going to be putting 6 stitches into that loop. Now that we have our 6 stitches, we can put our stitch marker in. And now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting an increase in every stitch, leaving us with 12 stitches at the end. Okay, now that we have our 12 stitches, we are going to be doing 2 rows of just single crochet. Okay, now that we have our 2 rows of single crochet, we're going to be decreasing all the way around, and then once we have a couple decreases in, I'm going to go ahead and stuff this. Instead of waiting until the end of the round, I'm just going to do it sometime in the middle of this round. Okay, so I have 3 more decreases right now. So what I'm going to do is take this ball of string, puff it up, ball it up, and then I'm going to be cramming it in there to the best of my ability. You can also use stuffing. I just don't particularly enjoy having like scrap yarn if I can help it. Certainly not if I can put it back into a project. Okay, we can take our stitch marker out, do our final decrease. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to be cutting a little tail, pulling it through, shedding everywhere in the process, and then we're going to use this tail to close up and around. Okay, and we can pull tight, and we've got our little ball. And now to secure it, find a loop somewhere, pull the string through, and tie it. And now that won't come undone, and I can use my hook to slip this extra string. Oops, well, pulled through apparently. The goal is to hide it inside once again so I don't have to deal with disgusting scrap yarn. Okay, now we have our completed little ball. Our Junimo is really starting to come together. So this is how much of this mint yarn I have left. I'm going to wind it up quickly. So this is how much scrap yarn we have left. It's not very much, so I'm just going to be putting it into my little scrap bin. And that is all of the mint that we are going to be using today. So for the rest of the project, we are going to be using this black worsted yarn. And mind you, we're not going to be using a lot of it. You're going to have the majority of the skein left over. So this is also a great, if you have just scrap black yarn to use, this would also be a great time to use it instead of busting out a new skein. But for the sake of this project, it's all Dollar Tree yarn. Okay, after finding the center pole for my yarn, we're going to start with a magic ring, or you can use the chain 2 method. You'll be making a magic ring with 5 stitches. And so for 4 rows, we are going to be doing just single crochets, which turns out to just be 20 stitches. So instead of putting a stitch marker in here, you're more than welcome to, but for me, instead of putting a stitch marker in, I'm just going to count to 20 stitches. And make sure that as you're going, you're trying to flip it inside out because it's going to want to curl in this way. And so just try and make sure that it's pointed the right way. Alrighty, that is our 20 stitches or 4 rows, which leaves us with this little nub. So we are going to, what I like to do, you don't have to do this, is I'm just going to put a slip stitch in and then pull this through, and we're going to leave a long tail so that we can sew it on. And just pull that through. Now it's nice and secure. And so this is what our little arms and antenna are going to be made out of. So it's the same for both the antenna and the arms. So we are going to be making 5 of these in total. So I will be back once I have made 4 more of these. So we have 5 in total. Okay, now that we have our 5 little pieces here, we can begin sewing them onto our little Junimo. What I'm going to do first is we're going to attach it to the little ball first. And with a few simple stitches, this little ball is attached. And now what we're going to do is, instead of rethreading a new yarn, we're just going to push this underneath and through here. And so now we can just work directly from here and attach this piece on to the top of the head. So this part is a little bit tricky, but you're going to want to try and get it as centered as possible. What I like to do is put the needle around the edges, and then we're going to go around again. And there is our little headpiece all put on, doing a little knot to secure it. So there is the little headpiece, and you can wiggle it whatever way you like. It's all attached. And now the rest of these pieces are going to be for the arms and the legs. Now that we have our next little nub, we're going to be attaching the legs first. And how I put them on is, instead of putting them on like directly under the eye, I put them like 2 stitches underneath the eye. And I try to make sure that I can see the round in which they go into, so that when I attach the second leg, I know to put it in about the same spot. And now we can really start to see our little guy come together. We are almost done. Here's our finished Junimo. I think he turned out so cute. I cannot wait to put him on my little shelf. Oh, and also, this is how much of the black yarn that I have left. Like I said, you don't use like any of it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the video and that the tutorial was easy to follow. If you guys end up making your own little Junimo, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see what you guys create. And thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I hope you guys really enjoyed the tutorial. If there's something that you'd like to see me make next, please leave a comment down below. And consider liking and subscribing if you like the channel. Okay, bye!